What's up, adventurers? Daggerheart is officially ruining my life, and I mean that in the best way possible. Today, we're diving into the Midnight Domain, the shadowy playground for anybody who wants to lie, vanish, and psychically haunt people for fun and profit. Whether you're building a slippery rogue, a manipulative sorcerer, or a spooky little menace with social anxiety and a vendetta, Midnight delivers. So let's break down the cards level by level, and I'll show you why this deck gives me and my party emotional damage. Before I jump in, I just want to touch on how much your support means to me. Your views are music to my soul, especially while my day job takes me away traveling across the country. I have a live stream game in the works. If you're interested in knowing more about that, stick around after the end of the video. Midnight. The Sorcerer and Rogue share the Midnight Domain. So if this video appeals to you and you want to know where to start, those are the two classes that will tickle all of your fancies. Welcome to level 1, where your Midnight journey begins and your rogue starts pretending they're Batman, but with worse impulse control. First up, Rain of Blades. This one is your panic button. Spend a hope and you conjure spectral throwing knives that hit every target within very close range. I call it the "Get Off Me, You Gremlins" button, and one of my rogue players uses this constantly because he has a talent for getting mobbed by enemies. And by talent, I mean he runs ahead and screams for help. This provides a cheap and flexible option. Then Uncanny Disguise, the classic infiltration tool. You use a hope and take on a disguise that lets you blend into a place that you have no business being. Sneaking into the Noble's Masquerade? You're suddenly Lord Pretentious III. Crashing a cult meeting? Congratulations, you're now Initiate Chad. And then we have Pick and Pull. This one's always active, so if you take it, you don't have to spend hope. It just gives you advantage when picking non-magical locks, disarming non-magical traps, or lifting small objects off unsuspecting suckers. Think of it as your sticky fingers going pro. Combine this with Uncanny Disguise, and suddenly you're stealing the king's ring while complimenting his fashion sense. If he had one. Level 1 Midnight cards are all about utility, misdirection, and stylish problem solving. So whether you're your party's sneaky scout, the magic manipulator, whatever it is, these give you ways to make a mess and escape it. And then at level 2, this is where Midnight Domain actually starts to feel like you're cosplaying as a haunted rumor. You're still sneaky, still clever, but now you can start slapping people from across the room with invisible hands. You can spend a hope with Midnight Spirit and conjure what is basically Daggerheart's mage hand, but with anger issues. It's spectral, it's spooky, and it's useful. You can send it out to carry stuff, flick switches, or my personal favorite, backhand enemies from far range using your spellcast trait. Yes, you can literally psychically bitch slap someone from across the battlefield. Perfect for sorcerers who want to flex at range, and rogues who want to play invisible shoplifter without ever leaving cover. Shadowbind, on the other hand, the next card in our list, is a classic restrain now, ask questions never. Spend a hope, make a spellcasting roll, and if you succeed, you trap a nearby target in magical shadowy chains. They can't move, which means it's cleanup time for your party. It's great when you're surrounded, when your plan went wrong again, or when you just want to assert dominance in total silence. And then level 3 is where the Midnight Domain stops playing around and starts haunting your enemies like unpaid debt. Chokehold? Well, this one is straight up WWE meets psychological warfare. You spend a hope, get behind your target narratively, not just physically, and then you can mark a stress to yank them into a vulnerable chokehold. Perfect for setting up a combo where your party grills them for intel while you whisper, shh, 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 let it happen. If you've ever wanted to be the reason an NPC develops a no-touch trauma, this is your moment. But my favorite here at this level is Veil of Night. This is the spell that turns you into a one-person SWAT team. On the roll of a 13 spellcasting ability or higher, you conjure a curtain of magical darkness between 2 points within far range. Only you can see through it, and you're hidden well inside it, and you get advantage on attacks made through it. kind of like a sniper's nest made of lies. You're basically playing Where's Waldo, but with knives. At level 4, Midnight Domain is all about setting things up, and by things, I mean your enemies for failure and your team for success. You're kind of now the backstage manager of every combat encounter, complete with fog machines and cursed clipboards. At level 4, Stealth Expertise lets you use stress to turn fear rolls into hope when trying to remain undetected. And if you've got allies trying to sneak alongside you, you can apply it to them too. You are now the group's emotional support shadow. Your rogue, stealthy of course. Your wizard in full plate with a glowing staff, also somehow stealthy. Your party goat, and I'm gonna leave you to decide if I'm talking about the animal. Let's give him hope too. He deserves it. And also here, we have Glyph of Nightfall. This lets you spend a hope and you get to lower a target's difficulty by your knowledge score with a minimum of 1. If that sounds underwhelming, you're wrong. It's actually kind of really cool. Difficulty is the number the Game Master uses for evasion, resisting spells, and everything in between, which translates to you softening up the battlefield like a pro. You're gonna sneak around and you're going to strategically debuff from a spooky position the most powerful bad guy on the field. Level 4 is where Midnight gets generous. I think at this stage you should highly consider taking Glyph of Nightfall. That's my recommendation. And then at level 5, we enter the oh crap, that didn't work part of this domain, the tactical toolkit, if you will. At level 5, you get Daggerheart's version of D&D's silence spell. Yes, just like the classic. This is your anti-mage Cone of Nope. You create a sphere of magical silence in close range where no sound can pass through, meaning no spells, no screaming for backup, and no sassy monologues. But unlike D&D, Daggerheart doesn't have spell components, so that just means no spells at all can be cast. You don't have to worry about verbal components. This is your go-to when you're dealing with an enemy spellcaster, especially when you hear the creepy chant start. You're gonna turn mages from doing something impressively cool to suddenly just like aggressive eye contact and hand gestures. Phantom Retreat, your second level 5 option. Oh man, this one's really clean. Spend a hope and you mark your current location. At any point later, you can spend another hope to instantly blink back to that marked spot. It's like placing your own save point. Scout ahead, blink back, screw up a heist, blink back, get caught kissing the enemy prince, blink back or don't. Like, depends on if you like being watched, I guess. And I know all you Baldur's Gate save scummers are going to be taking this one for sure. And I'm fine with it because that's me. I'm the Baldur's Gate save scummer. It's perfect for sorcerers who might have overextended, or rogues who go places they know they shouldn't, or literally anybody who's ever said, trust me, I've got a plan, and then they absolutely did not have a plan. At level 6, you get access to maybe one of my favorite cards in the entire game. Dark Whispers. Level 6 Midnight is for players who want to roleplay that moment when the villain leans in real close and whispers, I know all your secrets. These cards are pure flavor, high impact, and just a little bit illegal in most fantasy kingdoms. Don't tell the town guard you can do it. Dark Whispers should come with a restraining order. Here's how it works. First, you need contact, any contact with somebody. A handshake, a fist bump, a lingering stare across a masqueraded ballroom. I don't know if that one actually counts, but ask your GM. You now have a mental hotline to their brain. You can speak directly into their mind and they can speak back. Then, if you're feeling spicy, you can mark a stress and make a spellcasting roll against them. On a success, you get to ask the Game Master any of the following. Where are they right now? What are they doing? What are they afraid of? And what do they cherish most in this world? This is downright villain behavior, and I kind of really love it. Want to be the BBEG's BBEG? This is your spell. And I imagine a sorcerer using this at a gala, brushing up against someone in passing and then tormenting them for weeks. You're now the whisper in the dark. You are the final straw. You're the reason they don't sleep at night. You actually might be the reason that they're doing all the bad things to begin with, because you're driving them crazy. Also here at level 6, we have Mass Disguise. Look, it's fine. You disguise your entire party as different creatures or people, and yeah, it's useful. It can be dramatic. But next to Dark Whispers, it's like pulling out a balloon animal after someone just cast Haunting Blood Moon on the main villain. That said, it's great for group infiltrations, chaos at parties, and convincing guards you're totally not the same group that caused the tavern explosion in the next town over. But Dark Whispers is definitely the standout here at level 6, and it might be one of the best in the entire domain. It gives you flavor, power, and just the right amount of please stop doing that energy from your game master. Mass Disguise has solid utility, but if you have to choose, Whispers every time. Trust me, your enemies are never going to forget you. At level 7, this is when the Midnight Domain gets a little weird with metaphysics. This is the point where you're no longer just manipulating the battlefield, you're manipulating the narrative itself. So let's look at the cards. Midnight Touched. This card does 2 incredibly tasty things, but only if you have 4 or more Midnight Domain cards equipped. When the Game Master generates fear during a rest, you generate a hope. Because of course you do. You've worked so very hard. You thrive in tension, so fear is just hope in an edgier outfit. And then when you make a successful attack, you can mark a stress to add that fear result to the damage roll. In short, if you've been committed to the Midnight aesthetic, this is your reward, because you have to have 4 or more of them invested in order to get the benefits. You gain resources from terror, and you can explode your damage numbers with Psychic Dread. You are now trauma powered. Also at level 7 is Vanishing Dodge. This one's a flashy escape tool. When you take physical damage, you can spend a hope to instantly vanish into a swirl of shadow and reappear hidden next to your attacker. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, I'm teleporting next to the thing that just hit me? That sounds dangerous, but suck it up, you're level 7, grow a pair. It definitely is dangerous, but it's cool and deadly in the right situation. You just got stabbed and your response is, nice try, poof, now you're behind them and hidden and watching, plotting, probably whispering something unsettled. As the Game Master, I might even let that make the target vulnerable to your next action. Next up is level 8. This is where we start banking damage like a cursed Venmo account and becoming the most dangerous thing in a dimly lit hallway. The Midnight Domain here hands you 2 abilities, a passive and an explosive one. Shadow Hunter. This one sounds cool, and it is, as long as your Game Master loves dimly lit settings as much as you do. You gain a +1 evasion while in low light or darkness, and you also get advantage on attacks while in low light or darkness. That's it. No hope or stress, no catch. Just straight up a bonus for being in the dark. The downside here is quite obvious. If your campaign is in the sunshine and open meadows, this card is just going to sit there doing absolutely nothing except brooding in your deck. The upside, if you're playing in a city with flickering lamps, haunted ruins, or I don't know, an underground stronghold made of ghost bones, this card goes hard. Pair it with Veil of Night from level 3, and you bring your own darkness to the party. Unlike the nicheness of Shadow Hunter, is that a word? Nicheness? Spell Charge at level 8 is a really cool spell. Here's how it works. When you take magical damage, you can add a token to this card, up to 3. Later, you can spend any number of these tokens to add a d6 per token to a damage roll. So basically when someone casts a spell at you, you catch it like a baseball, store it in your ribcage, and then yeet it back as pure vengeance. It's a perfect combo, especially nasty if you get hit, Vanish Dodge out of existence, then Veil of Night into a hidden position, and drop a loaded Spell Charge on the unsuspecting face. Think of the combos. Always think of the combos in Daggerheart. At level 9, we're turning you into Nightmares Made Manifest. Night Terror, the first up on this list, just straight up slaps, and not politely. Here's the sequence. You choose any number of targets within very close range, you make a spellcast roll, and then on a 16 or higher, each one of them must succeed on a reaction roll or become horrified. When they're horrified, they're vulnerable. But there's more. You can then steal fear from your Game Master equal to the number of targets who have failed. And then you can roll a d6 per fear stolen and deal that much damage to all the horrified targets. So let's recap here. You make everyone around you see a vision of their own personal hell. They freak out, you slurp the fear like it's a cursed Gatorade, and then you detonate it in their face. It's like a mini nuke of psychic dread. It's a crowd control spell and a fear battery. And damage engine in one glorious, oh no, he's floating moment. Twilight Toll is the second card at this level, and this one's interesting. It takes a little finesse to use well. You mark a token on this card anytime you take non-damaging actions against a target. Think like restraining, grappling, stealing from them, etc. Then later, you can spend those tokens to deal 1d12 damage per token to that target. So if you're the kind of rogue or sorcerer who loves setting people up before taking them out, this can pay off huge dividends. But it's a slow burn and requires a little bit of tracking and tactical finesse in the social realm that I'm not sure a lot of people are really going to take advantage of. So Night Terror is really the rock star here at level 9. It turns you into the final boss that they didn't know a player's character was able to do. And then we get to level 10. You've walked the path of shadows. You've whispered into minds. You've vanished from strikes, haunted parties, and debuffed kings, and now it's time to go full midnight demigod. But here's the twist. These cards are flavorful, but not quite the blowout finishers you'd expect here at level 10. Eclipse, for example, sounds like the coolest spell ever. And it kind of is. You cast a veil of total magical darkness over a far-ranged area. Only you and your allies can see through it. Attacks against you while inside are at disadvantage, and if you succeed in an attack with hope inside the eclipse, the target marks a stress. It's very interesting tactically speaking. You can isolate an area, protect your team, and gain defensive bonuses, while punishing enemies for trying to fight in your domain. But there is a fine print. The Game Master can just spend fear to dispel the eclipse, or they can inflict severe damage on you, and your big moment has gone. To be honest, I think that's a little too easy for the Game Master to just wipe out a level 10 spell. It's very underwhelming if your Game Master is liberal with the fear pool. It's a great vibe, but maybe not the final form you were hoping for. Spectre in the Dark. This is the other card, and I think it's really cool. You mark a stress to become spectral. You are intangible, and you float, and you can pass through walls. You remain spectral until you take an action, and while spectral, you're immune to physical damage, still vulnerable to magic. You're also visible, so there's not a stealth field kind of around you. It's not like perfect for everything, but it is perfect for escaping locked rooms, floating through walls to scout the big bad's lair, or floating ominously. It's not working, through someone's bedroom ceiling to traumatize them with your presence. It's not like a combat finisher or anything, but it opens up incredible cinematic moments for your roleplay, combining it with something like Dark Whispers, and you're basically haunting somebody with all your hope. At level 10, you might expect huge nukes. Instead, you're a tool for theatrical domination. Eclipse is definitely battlefield control flavored, like a celestial omen. And Spectre of the Night is a mobility escape trick soaked in ghostly drip. Are they must-takes? Maybe not, but I think they're cool enough to make your character unforgettable. And honestly, if you've been walking the midnight path all campaign, ending it with a haunted eclipse or walking through the veil of reality does kind of feel on point. And that's the full breakdown of the Midnight Domain, level by level. If you're playing a rogue or a sorcerer who wants to haunt the campaign like a stylish rumor that just refuses to die, this domain is your playground. Let me know your favorite cards in the comments, or tell me what domain you want me to cover next. And hey, if you're planning to join our upcoming live stream campaign and you want to help support it behind the scenes, hit me up. We've got goals, stretch goals, and a suspicious number of fog machines. Keep rolling those dice, and may your quests be epic. Okay, are they gone? Is it safe to talk about the super secret stuff? So for my real MVPs, let me introduce you to the world of my first live stream game, called The Last Light. Long ago, the world was broken, not by war, but by forgetting. 12 great realms ruled the central continent of Etheria. Each was proud, each was divided, and each worshipped lesser truths. The stars grew silent, the oceans churned, and the people called out for peace. But no god answered. Then came the one whose name is not spoken, but remembered. The Radiant Empire. He bared the eternal flame. He walked the broken paths of Etheria alone. He needed no army, no throne, no divine claim. His voice carried justice. His light rekindled hope. And the 12 realms rose to greet him, and in time bowed in unity. Each was transformed not by conquest, but by remembrance. And thus the 12-fold compact was born, and the Empire of Flame took root. On the summit of Mount Horizon, the Empire kindled the first flame. It burned neither wood nor soul, it burned away lies. And under its light, language was refined, memory recorded, magic once lost was reborn. The 12 nations of Etheria became one land, one law, and one legacy. But Etheria is only one continent on a vast and slumbering world. Beyond its coasts lie wild continents, storm-racked archipelagos, and sky-spanning deserts. Land where the old gods are rumored to still linger. Where people pray to the stars that have long since died. The crusade was born not from ambition, but from compassion. To carry the flame to ever darker corners of the world, to awaken memory in the forgotten. To enact this mission, the Empire forged his saint lines, children of the flame, generals and demigods made in his image, in spirit and soul, imbued with shards of the first light. Each leads a great host of warriors who dedicated their lives to bringing the flame to those in need. Warriors and builders, not to enslave, but to enlighten. Lucerion, Dawnbreaker of the Fourth Host, leads the crusade into the southern continent of Velastra, where empires of silence still whisper falsehoods to the people who forget. We bore the light of the God Kings until it burned us.